Thank you so much for joining us, Chuka, and it's quite an interesting start to the month of February. It's midweek, but before we go into the daily transactions, let's look at the highlights we had from the start of the week on Monday, where we saw the bond auction of 360 billion naira, and then we also had it's been sold well over 600 billion naira. Let's talk about that first and how this sets the pace for the market.
Yeah, thank you, David. Like you mentioned, the week started with a bond auction where we had about 360 billion was on offer. 662, more than 662 billion was sold across 4 maturities of 2028, which came out at 15%. 2032 came out at 14.9. 2037 came out at 15.8, and then 49 came out at 15.9. You know, this auction had actually shown has indicated what the government tend to do. Recall that towards the end of last year, the Minister of Finance mentioned that they are going to borrow heavily from the local market, especially on the bond side. So the bond subscription was oversubscribed by about more than 800 billion. That shows you intention, government intend to how government intend to borrow heavily from the local market this year.
And talking about government's move and borrowing from the market this year, we also had the House of Reps also just approve, 1 trillion naira to support the 2023 budget and penned the agenda towards the securitization of the 22.7 trillion naira ways and means. How's the market responding to this news?
Yeah, I think that the ways and means politics has actually been pricing into the market, because don't forget that this is fund that already been spent. They're just more of trying to regularize it from the National Assembly. So the market isn't really moved by that. But I think that what the market is moved out is what is playing a major role in the market is the system liquidity. For the past 2 days now, the system has opened well over 1 trillion. And so that has actually played a major role in the fixed income market.
And now let's also shift attention towards Moody's ratings. We had the downgrade as well. And how is the market also responding? Because the first ratings was looking around the sovereignty of Nigeria as a whole, our fiscal position, debt levels, and then now we also have the drop of the LDR, the downgrade of the LDR for 9 Nigerian banks at this point too. In terms of the future of CPs and much more, how do you see this shaping up?
Well, the Moody downgraded some banks as well as Nigeria from B rating to C rating. For me, the only positive thing I can say about it is that the government, because the government is not looking outside for majority of its borrowing, is looking inward, there wouldn't be that so much effect in the market, especially as regard the government bonds. But however, it's not a good thing. But then it also didn't say that the banks or the government is doing badly. It's just a way of trying to...
the highlight here is the weakening operating environment. But Chuka, just before I let you go, let's just quickly have the expectation for the month of February as well. Which auctions are we looking towards, and how are investors likely going to also react to the market, especially as electioneering activities are building momentum? It's barely 24 days to the elections.
Yeah, so the market itself on the fixed income side, I think most of the games and most of the attraction will be on the bond side because of the low yield on the T-bill side. You recall that last week T-bill auction came out at 4.7% and is currently trading at less than 2%. So all attraction is on the bond side. In 2 weeks' time, there will be another bond auction where all this about 360 will also be on offer. And so throughout this week, throughout this month to the middle of second quarter, the system will be highly liquid. And so we see a lot of bullish sentiment on the bond side especially, and that will actually affect the trading on that end.
And talking about the currency market as well, how do you see things panning out within the NAFEX and I&E window as well, with the introduction of the new Naira notes and scarcity and all of the concerns around this currency circulating?
The I&E window is currently trading at 461.5. That was the same level it opened as yesterday. So there hasn't been any much movement on that end. However, we feel that as the week and the year progresses, especially with the election coming up, we might see slight depreciation on that window. But then, for now, it's still very stable.